First, I want to thank Victor and the team at Kinguin for the invitation and for inviting me to participate in the ICO that Kinguin is now in the market with. It's really an honor to be here. Poland is the home of my ancestors, so this is my first visit. And I spent the first 2 days touring the city, and I felt a real connection. So I don't know so much about my family. When my grandparents came over to America, they were 2 and 3 years old, and all through my life I asked them to tell me about my ancestors in Poland, and they never could say much. But touring the city, I feel that connection, and I think this will be a special place for me to come back to as Kinguin grows and as Poland grows in the esports scene worldwide. I attended the earlier session, and there's one thing I would disagree with Victor. He said Kinguin will become, or is on the path to becoming, a world-class esports company recognized throughout the world. And from my perspective as a leading investor in the United States, I would say Kinguin is already recognized, at least from our perspective, as a world-class leader. There are lots of examples where Europe leads the way and US follows, and this is an example in esports. We talked this morning about the blockchain. We talked about cryptocurrency. We talked about utilizing it in the ecosystem that is esports. These concepts are leading edge. These concepts are not even thought about yet in the United States. We're still without contactless payment, NFC payment. We're so far behind in so many ways. And so one of the reasons that, while my focus is in the USA, one of the reasons that I get involved in companies like Kinguin and Penta, I know Andreas is here from Penta Sports in Germany, is because Europe, in many cases, leads the way. And I can learn about the best practices in Europe, and when we're ready for it in the USA, I'll have already experienced it. I guess one other observation, and not to get into politics because that's always a dangerous territory, but I know that our president was here not too long ago, and he talked about how strong the people of Poland are and how they've survived not one but 2 occupations. I think he said there's not many people who survive 1 occupation, but you survived 2 occupations, and you're strong, and you got through it, and you're resilient, and now in so many ways you're leading in your sphere of influence, and that's not lost on me. I mean, we're about doing business, and we're about esports, but we're also about the people we do it with, and I'm very impressed just with the nature of the people and the country, and I would be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity to express that to you. So let's move into esports and why I'm here, I guess. I've never played a video game, ever. This is an admission. I'm not proud or I'm not ashamed. It just is a fact. When I grew up, our parents sent us out of the house to play, a pickup game of this or that. I guess I'm old enough that I didn't grow up with all the technology necessarily that we have today. So I'm not a video gamer, but yet I'm one of the largest private investors in the USA in esports. So why? Why am I interested in esports? The main reason, about 5 years ago, I was thinking about the industry that I am a leader in the US, which is the casino industry. I started when I was 25, so for almost 30 years. I've been involved in every aspect from owning casinos, operating casinos, developing the technology that goes into casinos, making the games that go into casinos, taking casinos online, dealing with sports betting and fantasy sports. I had been dealing with every innovation in the casino industry, and what I noticed was that fewer people were coming to casinos to play the games. They were coming for the nightclubs and for the restaurants, but they weren't playing the games in the same volume that they had been before. And so I started thinking about how could casinos evolve to attract the next generation. This was my focus. And at that time, people started reaching out to me on social media, where for an old guy, I have a pretty good presence. And these were folks who were in their teens and young 20s, and they were saying, look, we need money for this organization. We need money to go to play in this tournament. And I just said, you know, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to take every call, and I'm going to listen to every person until I figure it out. And so for a year, I talked to hundreds of people. I learned about dozens and dozens of organizations, and what I figured out was that there was a strong culture in the USA of esports. It had been there all the time, but now it was coming above the surface. People were looking for mentorship. People were looking for advice from a businessman who potentially had some resources. And so I did what everyone does when they learn. I started writing checks. I would say the first 10 or 15 things I did turned out disastrously. I made every mistake in the book. I trusted the wrong people. I would give with one hand and they would bite me with the other hand. And I said, wow, I've been in the casino business. I've been in some pretty rough places, if you know that business, but this is worse. This is more rough. And so I started to go through that process, and then one day I got a contact through Twitter. And the message was, hey man, you want to buy my company? And I said, what's your company? They said, my company's UMG Gaming. This was a military man. He was a sniper in the Army, and he was experiencing PTSD from serving in the Army, and he needed to retire at 26. He was done. And I said, well, if you'll come to Las Vegas, I'll consider buying your company. And the next day, he flew from Texas to Las Vegas, and we studied his company, and within a few months after that, started my career in investing in esports. We purchased a controlling interest in UMG Gaming. UMG Gaming was a company that offered peer-to-peer gaming for real money for mostly Call of Duty players. They had started about 8 years ago, and they took a bus around the country. They would set up tournaments. They were parents who had kids who played Call of Duty, and they didn't like the way the tournaments were being run, so they took it upon themselves to go from Holiday Inn to Holiday Inn across America running these tournaments, and they developed a following, a community of people. And they said, you know what? The kids want something to do when they're at home, when they're not coming to the tournaments, or they want a way to qualify. So they created a platform where people could play online. And they said, you know, they want someone to officiate when there's a dispute. So they created a call center 24/7 where if you had a dispute, someone could officiate the contest and make it fair. And so this was a company in 2.5 years ago. They had about 500,000 users. They were doing about 5,000 tournaments a day online. And for the Call of Duty community, they were a household name. And fast forward 2.5 years, we put close to 10 million into the company. We now have close to 4 million users who pay on average $13 a month to be part of our network. We run 60,000 tournaments a day. 60,000 cash matches a day are run over our platform. And since this isn't being recorded live, we'll announce in the next couple of weeks that we will sign a deal with Caesars Corporation, one of the largest casino entertainment corporations in the world, to become their tournament engine. Just like Caesars made World Series of Poker a household name, they want to make UMG Gaming and peer-to-peer esports competition a household name. And so we're going to be going initially into the Rio Casino in Las Vegas and eventually into every casino that Caesars has in the USA. They have over 40 in 20 states. And so that's just one example of one company. That company, when we invested in that company, we bought in at 40 cents a share US. That was in 2014. And we announced last week our intent to go public on the US exchange. And we will go public at $3.75 a share. Now that's a home run. We're not doing an ICO. We're in America. We got to do things through the Securities and Exchange Commission. But that's a success story. Two guys who started by getting a Volkswagen bus and going around America. Two guys who like to barbecue and fish, who wanted to do something good for their kids, are now going to become multimillionaires. And we'll do okay along the way as well. And so this is the state of esports in America. That's one story, but if you read the news, you'll hear about professional sports teams like the Yankees and NBA teams like the Chicago Bulls and former NBA players like Rick Fox investing tens of millions of dollars into esports organizations. And why are they doing it? Why? For the same reason that I started looking at esports. I was interested in finding the next generation of customers for my casino, and professional sports is interested in finding the next generation of fan. The number of people watching professional sports, whether it be the NFL, Major League Baseball, or NBA, is dropping every year. And the number of people who watch esports through Twitch is climbing every day. The amount of time that kids in America spend consuming Twitch is in the hours versus the minutes that they calculate them spending on professional sports. And so there is no doubt that esports has arrived in America, and there's no doubt that the USA is a huge market in terms of buying power. But like everything, the USA moves a little slower in some areas, and I think esports is an area where it will move slower. I'm going to open it up for questions mostly, but I've pretty much looked at every aspect of the esports ecosystem. I've invested in apparel, which represents 25% of the revenue stream of esports. I've invested in media. One company, Beyond Entertainment, I invested in 5 months ago, and within 5 months we sold the company to Logitech. Beyond Entertainment was the #1 media site for Halo. So they focused on the Halo community. They had millions of followers, and Logitech was frankly interested in their tournament platform. Logitech didn't want to use a third party to run their tournaments. So I've invested in a company called Wham Entertainment, which is in Hollywood, California, and they make high quality, full production value esports content for distribution on channels like Netflix and Hulu, Vizio TV. So they're going mainstream. They have a distribution partnership with Cinedigm out of China. So media, apparel, peer-to-peer gaming. One company that I invested in recently, Victor's Gold out of Los Angeles, they come from the poker world, and they've developed some of the most sophisticated skill matching technology. Because if you're going to offer cash matches online, you better make sure it's fair. And so my focus is primarily on the fan base, where the masses are. I like to invest in proprietary technology. I like to invest in platforms. I think where Kinguin is headed with their ICO and with the use of blockchain and with the use of crypto is the future. And I expect to learn a lot from this experience that can translate into the USA market. I guess the final thought that I'll leave you with is, up until this point, I've been deploying capital one by one. People who follow me suggest that it seems somewhat chaotic. I jump from investment to investment. I pull together investor groups. I've raised close to $2 billion US for the casino industry, so I know how to raise capital. But in 2018, I've got some backers from Wall Street who want to put a fairly large amount of money behind my efforts. And so I'm hoping one day it will be easier as someone comes to me and I say, yes, this is something we should do together, and I can write the check on the spot. That's where I hope to be by the end of 2018. And with that, I'll open it up and answer any questions.
I'm the first person to ask a question. Okay. You are not a gamer, but not even mobile gaming like Angry Birds or anything?
The only thing that I play, and I'm still in the negative numbers, is solitaire. I'm in negative numbers. My wife makes fun of me because she sets it to win every time, and I set it to lose every time. So I'm the furthest thing from a gamer.
Okay, so gambling in the industry began in 2013 with skin betting in Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
What's the future now? Are we still going to bet on skins?
Well, in the United States, skins betting is not legal. I probably have received about 30 phone calls from people who are running skins operations, young kids making 20, 30, 40,000 a week. I believe it. Look, what will happen in the United States is we're moving towards the legalization of sports betting. We're still 20 years behind Europe in sports betting. I think eventually, when sports betting gets legalized, they will get around to adding more formally esports as something that can be bet upon. The problem right now with betting on esports from the US perspective is there isn't an overall regulating body or league that checks the integrity of the competition. That's one issue. And the second issue is there isn't a ready source of data like there is historically for other sports with which to underwrite sports betting on esports. Now, having said that, it's taking place in Sweden, it's taking place in Russia. We once ran a tournament, a Counter-Strike tournament, in a casino in Lake Tahoe, and we found out from the Integrity Commission, there's an not-for-profit integrity council in London, that there was betting action out of Russia on this local tournament that wasn't even televised. So I know it's occurring in the billions, but I think for the USA, it's going to evolve much more slowly.
Okay, this was to be my last question, but I can't wait because I know you love Poland. Are you going to build a casino in Warsaw?
Right now, we used to own 6 casinos in Las Vegas on Fremont Street, if you've ever visited Fremont. We sold the casinos in 2006. We employed 5,000 people in Las Vegas, which was a big responsibility. It's almost like being responsible for a small village. I'm currently working on casino projects in Brazil and Vietnam, 2 emerging markets. I would love to build a casino in Poland if they'll allow me to.
Okay, so let's expand the casino theme. Is there any way that blockchain will revolutionize the industry?
Yeah, right now in Europe, where casinos have moved online, and we have even live dealer casinos online, they are adopting blockchain and crypto and for use in online casinos. Jurisdictions like Malta and Gibraltar are regulating blockchain and crypto for online casino. There is an argument that given the quality of reporting and transactions within blockchain, that it is a better vehicle for the real money gaming industry than what exists today. And I'm a believer in that we will move towards that for casinos and online gaming.
Okay, let's get back to esports,
Yep.
because you invested in Penta Esports, the
Yes.
professional esport team. Do you treat it as a long-term investment, or are you willing to see returns right now, right here?
Yeah, and Andreas is here, and I know he's going to be talking about Penta. Andreas came to visit me in Las Vegas. We spent a week together, and what motivated me as it relates to Penta was the passion for the organization. 99% of investing is the people. There's lots of good ideas, there's lots of good technology, and there's fewer excellent people that run these companies, in my experience. Andreas was an example of a passionate person, and the organization was filled with excellent people. The professional side of esports, the teams, is not my forte. I don't have a lot to contribute because I'm not so close to the actual competition. I'm more interested in the transactional side of what fans do with the content. But I am learning a lot from it, and I try to mentor them where I can. But I would say it's more for experience and being around the energetic and positive people than it is as an investment, from my perspective.
Okay. You are based in States, but you invested in an European team. So
Yeah.
what are the differences between esports in States and esports in Europe?
As I said, I see a lot more opportunity on a day-in, day-out basis from outside the United States because they're further ahead, but there is more market in the U.S. And so what will happen is the U.S. will catch up very soon, and it will surpass everything because of the size of the marketplace and the spending power. And so the way I've looked at it is I use Europe as a way to look for leading technology and for innovation, and I use America for the market and the financial power in America. And so I try to combine the best of both worlds.
Perfect. Thank you, Steven.
Yeah, thank you.